Welcome back to Film Snob HQ. The road to Avengers Doomsday continues. We are up to the final chapter of not Phase 4 or the fifth era, but 2021, which was maybe the biggest year for Marvel films, maybe in the history of both the MCU and Marvel Entertainment in terms of their film division. COVID lockdown had a lot to do with it. Disney Plus had a lot to do with it. We had a ton of TV shows, a bunch of movies. Almost everything was exclusively Marvel Studios. There was, of course, a Venom film and one other Sony collaboration, the third and thus far final Spider-Man chapter. Now, obviously at this point in time, they have released the trailer for Brand New Day. As of today, we're still about 3.5 months out from that. But thus far, it is the final chapter, at least in the Origin trilogy. And of course, I'm talking about Spider-Man No Way Home. We'll talk about Brand New Day in a moment, I promise. This flick was made and released during the COVID lockdowns, which meant a lot more people were on the internet, which means there was a lot of rumors and speculations. The first kind of leak being that Alfred Molina was returning as Doc Ock, and that kind of lit a fire under everyone and got people speculating who else might be returning. If Doc Ock is returning and it's Alfred Molina, will Tobey Maguire be back? Will Andrew Garfield be back? Will Andrew Garfield's villains be back? Will their Gwen Stacy and Mary Jane show up? We had no idea. And it was my most anticipated film of the year. I could not wait. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. And I would say, considering the rumors and the expectations, this flick delivers incredibly well. There were only a couple of people who didn't show up, and it was all due to scheduling. Compare that to, say, Multiverse of Madness, which would come out a couple of months later. The expectations were really high. And a few people were a bit disappointed, but ultimately no one said those people were coming back, just people got carried away, especially after this flick. So this film carries off, it picks up right where Far From Home ended, literally the next frame from the previous film. It's the same scene, it's the same day, and Peter Parker swings down to save Mary Jane because crowds are swarming. They want to touch Spider-Man and say hello to him, and they recognize him now. And there's a really divided camp in terms of how they feel now that they know Peter Parker's Spider-Man. Half of the population loves him. People at school are really excited that, Spider-Man goes to their school. And then others have believed Mysterio's lies and think that Peter Parker's a menace, which of course is reinforced by J. Jonah Jameson, played by the wonderful J.K. Simmons. Early on in the film, they're taken into custody and there's the threat of legal action. So of course they get a wonderful lawyer, teased and played by the wonderful Charlie Cox, returning as Matt Murdock. And this is because Daredevil had also just been recently acquired back into the fold, and there was speculation that from there we were going to get some more Daredevil, which of course we would eventually. And then Peter goes to Doctor Strange to say basically, look, I've stuffed up. People know who I am. I need you to erase my identity. People need to forget who I am so that my friends and family can have lives. The spell goes horribly wrong, and villains from other universes start coming in to his universe. So we have Jamie Foxx's Electro, Risa Farns's Lizard. We have the Sandman, played by Thomas Hayden Church. Alfred Molina I mentioned, and of course Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin. And I know a lot of people have complained that there are no original Tom Holland villains in here, but A, there's not really room for it, and B, it doesn't matter. These villains hate Spider-Man no matter who is under the mask, which we will see, especially from Green Goblin. Willem Dafoe is so good in this film. He outdoes his previous Green Goblin performance and makes himself one of the best MCU villains as well. He's so good in this. This flick is just, it could be easily kind of misjudged as nostalgia bait. Like, it absolutely is, but it's so much more. This flick makes me cry every single time. There's a number of moments where I cry. The first being the death, spoiler alert, of Aunt May. The second being the appearance of Tobey Maguire through the portal. Every single time I tear up. And I love Andrew as well, but there's just something that hits a little bit differently about seeing Tobey Maguire after 20 years. It's just like, wow, like he's back. And I actually prefer this version of Tobey's Spider-Man. I like adult, mature Spider-Man, played by Tobey Maguire. I'm digging it. And then, of course, when Andrew Garfield Spider-Man saves MJ and gets some redemption after his previous film. And then, of course, when MJ starts to forget Peter. It's hugely emotional, really fun. It's everything you want in a Spider-Man film. It's just great. Great. And it has some long-lasting effects on the MCU as well. It's our first real dive into the multiverse. Obviously, Loki did that in the TV side of things, but from the cinematic side, this one really cracks it open and shows us what we can do with it and let us know what Marvel could do. And I think that's, again, where the expectations got raised a bit too high for Multiverse of Madness. Also, that title was a little bit misleading. But yeah, they have to work together to stop all these villains, and their goal now is not to just send them home to their own universe, but to cure them first so these villains have a chance at real lives. It's such a honest-to-goodness Spider-Man story. And the real MVP of this film, he doesn't have a huge role in it, but I have to say is Jon Favreau as Happy Hogan. He has this speech at the graveyard at the end where, Peter's visiting May's grave, and he doesn't know who Peter is anymore. He doesn't recognize him at all. And he talks about the death of Tony Stark and how it impacted him and how he held May in the same regards and the same standards as Tony. Like, she meant just as much to him. And her work was just as important, which is a really wonderful monologue by Jon Favreau. And then the flick ends with him being the Peter Parker Spider-Man that we know from the comics. You know, he doesn't have tech. He doesn't have gadgets or friends, or sidekicks. It's just him in a costume that he made himself with a sewing machine trying to do good. And it's incredible. In terms of Doomsday and Secret Wars, I think we're getting all three Spideys back. I think so. Why wouldn't you? I think we're getting Green Goblin back. With Doom's going to have a team of villains, which I've talked about before. Why wouldn't you bring the best one back? The best one. In my opinion. Well, you know what? I also like Otto as a villain, but he's kind of turned good now. So he's not really a villain anymore. But Green Goblin, throw him against some other Marvel heroes and see how much he can mess with their day. I'd like to see that. And the others, I'm not sure. But that's who I think's coming back. Now, in terms of Brand New Day, the trailer just dropped a couple of weeks ago at the time of recording this. I'm beyond excited. It looks really cool. There's a great moment where Spider-Man jumps off a building and we get to see inside his mask. And it's the first time we've seen in a hero's mask where there's no tech stuff going on. It's just face and mask. And you can just see he is depressed. He's so bummed out. I know in Civil War we saw inside War Machine's mask when the system went down, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying this is a mask that has no tech whatsoever. It is just a fabric mask. There are a ton of characters. Mark Ruffalo is back as Bruce Banner, who's no longer in Hulk form. He's in Bruce Banner form again. We have the Punisher showing up. The first time the Punisher and Spider-Man have been on a film screen together. That's really exciting for me because the Punisher, if you don't know, made his comic book debut as a Spider-Man villain. We've got the Hand, which means maybe we'll have Daredevil. Maybe we'll have some Elektra references. Here's hoping. There's a ton that I'm forgetting because I'm just so focused on this flick right now. But Spider-Man fans are eating well. It's been 5 years since we've had a Spider-Man film. We are well overdue, and I'm very excited for that one. But until then, watch this. This is going to be important to Secret Wars and Doomsday. I'm sure of it. But that's Spider-Man No Way Home. Go and love it as much as I do. And next up is Moon Knight.